Born in New Orleans and raised in Hawaii, Barbara lives in Tallahassee and teaches creative writing in the English department at Florida State University, where she is a distinguished university scholar. She is the author of 4 books of poetry: Delirium, winner of the Vassar Miller Prize, the Kate Tufts Discovery Prize, and the Norma Faber First Book Award; The Alphabet of Desire, named by the New York Public Library as one of the 25 best books of 1999; Babel, awarded the Donald Hall Prize in Poetry from the Association of Writers and Writing Programs; and her most recent, All Night Lingo Tango, published by the University of Pittsburgh Press. Her book of linked stories, Lester Haggatta's 20th Century, won the 2010 Iowa Short Fiction Award and was published by the University of Iowa Press. She has also co-edited an anthology of poetry, Seriously Funny, with her husband, poet David Kirby. A Pushcart Prize winner and a recent Guggenheim Fellow, she has also been awarded a National Endowment for the Arts Fellowship, and her poems, widely published in journals such as the Paris Review, the Southern Review, and the Kenyon Review, have been selected for 3 volumes of the prestigious annual Best American Poetry Series. In the beginning was the Word, the alphabet of desire begins, expanding out into syllables like a deck of cards on a table in Vegas. And in fact, Barbara Hamby is a dealer and a wielder, a collector and connoisseur of words. In her own phrasing, she is a kleptomaniac in the candy store of language. And in her poem's menagerie, all beasts are welcome. Her decisive wit flares from every poem, whether her subject is the road to Baghdad or an ode to airheads. Whether her voice is personal or persona-driven, her characters ranging from Nietzsche to Olive Oil, from Desdemona to Betty Boop. As supple and virtuosic in structure as they are in diction and image and tone, her poems range from lush, muscled machines of free verse to brilliantly wild, fixed forms that ignite not from meter, but from alphabet itself, including forms of her own creation, such as the double helix abecedarian, or the abecedarian sonnet, which, of necessity, has 13 rather than 14 lines, and of which Barbara has noted, if only our alphabet had 28 letters, then I could be more traditional. The thrill of writing in English, she has said, is in all that it's stolen, in putting all the thousands of Englishes together, which she describes as like juggling and walking a tightrope at the same time. At once a lover of the sheer, chaotic, melting pot carnal diversity of home, of the USA, and an enraptured traveler trolling for treasure troves abroad. Language is what ravels these hemispheres of experience. Word is world. Describing her resulting work, she has written the beginner and the expert, the smart person and the idiot, the homebody and the traveler, the hillbilly and the cosmopolitan. The collision is what makes my poems. The Barbara Hamby her poems create is as singular as she is legion. To co-opt her poem's own rich phrasings, she's 100 million molecules in search of an author. She's an ex-goddess, the smart girl in class, no longer biting her tongue, but letting it rip like nobody's business from the hard, sweet apple of her mouth. She's a psalm sonneteer, a classy dame, the tough broad in your corner who'll pour you a tumbler and tell you to buck up, who will show you what's hidden in her lingerie drawer. Yes, she has a temper, a heart, a brain. She does wear black and can angst about Paris, but her laugh could take the wax of a cherry red Chevy. With her pyrotechnic ability to displayed with registers of language, from cliche-driven conversation to erudite hoodoo soup. She's a burlesque queen's kick and bite. She's the rosy red finger of dawn, pulling the trigger on another night. She's both peep show and Zen canoe. She's a little girl diving for dictionary pearls. She's virtuoso and ingenue. She's serving up witch's brew at a keg party on a Friday night, igniting language to bonfire, so we're all part of the glorious burn. Please welcome now, Barbara Hamby.
Thank you for having me here. It's a real pleasure to be at Berry College. What a beautiful place, isn't it? When I drove in last night, there were all of these deer around. Aren't they? Oh, I just
They get old.
They do. I was telling Tina that I went to Nara, Japan one time, and the deer there are sacred, so they just come up to you and just knock you in the shoulder and say, you know, where's my snack? I just haven't gotten that back yet. They were very, very timorous. I wanted to start reading with a poem about, I guess, what I think moves all of us. I think that we all, living in the South, my favorite bird is the mockingbird because it's just fearless. I know we have these hawks in our neighborhood that troll around, and we always see them being chased around by mockingbirds, and the hawks are big, they're really scary looking, but the mockingbirds don't care. And I keep thinking of that as a metaphor for what we have inside of ourselves. Everybody, I think every human being, not just writers, has some kind of wild bird inside of himself and herself that wants to, be heard. And, some people use religion to be heard, and some people use politics, and, other people art. And I can't help but think that art is the primary way that we can speak, or the truest way to speak, but I'm sure that people will disagree with me on that. But this is a poem called Thus Spake the Mockingbird. The mockingbird says, Hallelujah, Coreopsis, I make the day bright, I wake the night blooming jasmine. I am the duodecimo of desperate love, the hocus-pocus passion flower of delirious retribution. You never saw such a bird, such a triage of blood and feathers, tongue and bone. Oh, the world is a sad address, bitterness melting the tongues of babies, breasts full of accidental milk. But I can teach the flowers to grow, take their tight buds, unfurl them like flags in the morning heat, fat banners of scent, flat platters of riot on the emerald scene. I am the green god of pine trees, conducting the music of rustling needles through the harp of wind. I am in the heart of men, the wild bird that drives their sex, forges their engines, jimmies their shattered blocks in the dark flare where midnight sings. I am the careless minx in the skirts of women, the bright moon caressing their hair, the sharp words pouring from their beautiful mouths in boardrooms, on bar stools, in big city laundrettes. I am Lester Young, sidelined and sad, sending that Pony Express message out west, and the Marconi tube hidden in every torso, tied tight in a corset of do and don't, high and low, yes and no. I am the radio, the first god of the 20th century, broadcasting the news, the blues, the death counts, the mothers wailing when everyone's gone home. I am sweeping through the Eustachian tubes of the Great Plains, transmitting through every ear of corn, shimmying down the spine of every Bible-thumping banker and bureaucrat, relaying the anointed word of the shimmering world. Every dirty foot walks the broken streets, moves on my wings. I speak from the golden screens. Hear the roar of my discord murdering the trees, screaming its furious rag, the fuselage of my revival tent brag. Open your windows, slip on your castanets. I am the flamenco in the heel of desire. I am the dancer. I am the choir. Hear my wild throat crowding the exploding sky. Oh, I can make a noise. One of the things that I think about over and over again is how you can have all of these goals in your life. Sometimes you're just lucky. And one of my big pieces of luck is to work at Florida State University, which has a fantastic study abroad program. And so I've gotten to travel like a person who has a lot more money than I have. And another piece of luck is I married somebody, and for his looks, really, and he's still adorable after 30 years, but he speaks beautiful French, and so we not only have we got to travel on Florida State study abroad from in Paris, but we have always have a good experience because his language skills are so great. And I'm not, I know nobody's going to feel sorry for me when I said I lived in Paris one summer, but it's one of those things that's funny. When we're in this country, when I'm in this country, I really push against a lot of the parts of being an American. But when I go to another country, I realize how American I really am. And so it's, this time I spent in Paris, I really found myself not only missing this country, but missing my own language, which is really a polyglot language. It's a language that just is on the move all the time. As soon as the dictionary's finished, new words have crept in, and we're adding to it all the time. I mean, think about it. Nobody knew what a jihad was, 10 years ago, but boy, we know now, don't we? It's a part of our language, and thus it is with every language we come in contact with. And so when I was in Paris, I found myself missing American English, and so I wrote this ode to American English. I was missing English one day, American really, but it's pop-popping Hungarian goulash and everything from Anglo-Saxon to Zulu, because British English is not the same. If the paperback dictionary I bought at Brentano's on the Avenue de l'Opera is any indication, too cultured by half. Oh, the English know their dahlias, but what about doo-wop, donuts, Dick Tracy, Tricky Dick? With their elegant Oxfordian accents, how can they understand my yearning for the hot rod, hot dog, hot flash vocabulary of the US of A? The fragmented fandango of Dagwood's everyday flattening of Mr. Beasley on the sidewalk, fetuses floating on billboards, drive-by monster hip-hop stereos shaking the windows of my dining room like a 7.5 earthquake. Ebonic, Spanglish, used as comma and period. The inability of 90% of the population to get the present perfect. I have went, I have saw, I have taken Jesus into my heart. The battle cry of the Bible Belt, but no one uses the King James anymore, only plain speak versions in which Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead says, "Dude, wake up." And the L man holds up like a B-movie mummy. Whoa, I was toasted. Yes, ma'am, I miss the mongrel plenitude of American English. Its fall guy, rat terrier, dog pound neologisms, the bomb of it all, the rushing River Jordan backwoods mutability of it, the lowrider boombox cruise of it, from New Jersey to Hawaii, with its sly dog, malasada starving, beach blanket lingo, to the ubiquitous valley girls, like stuttering, shopaholic rant. I miss its quotidian beauty, its querulous, backbiting, righteous indignation, its preening, rot-gut, flag-waving cowardice. Suffering succotash, sputters Sylvester the cat. Sine die, say the pork-bellied legislators of the swamps and plains. I miss all those guys, their Tweety bird resilience, their Doris Day optimism, the candid unguent of utter unhappiness on every channel, the midnight televangelist euphoric stew, the junk mail, voicemail vernacular. On every boulevard and route, I miss the Tarzan cry of Johnny Weissmuller, Johnny Cash, Johnny Be Good, and all the smart-talking, gum-snapping, hard-girl dialogue, finger-popping, X-rated street talk, sports babble, Cheetos, Cheerios, chili dog diatribes. Yeah, I miss them all. Sitting here on my sidewalk throne, sipping champagne, verses lined up like hearses, metaphors juking, now zipping in my head like Corvettes on Dexedrine, French verbs slitting my throat, yearning for James Dean to jump my curb. I grew up in a real fundamentalist family, and I couldn't wait to get away from it. I loved my parents, and they were wonderful people, but it was just it was a hard life for budding secular humanist. And one of the things that I've realized as I've gotten older is how much I really appreciate that you can see from the translation of the Bible that I want to write, that it's there inside of me, and I can't really deny it. And when I tried to, it was stupid. But I like to think of it as a muscle of belief that I have inside me. So I want to believe in something, and I think it might be poetry, but who knows. But one of the things that I've come across is just the kind of detritus of the way I was raised. I love Christmas. I mean, I just absolutely love everything about it. I love the tree. I have thousands of ornaments. I love the music, especially. And I have a girlfriend, and every Christmas we would go to the sing-along at a local French bistro. And we both have terrible voices, but it didn't matter because we could just sing out, and it was corny, but I just loved it. And one of the things that was really, really interesting about the sing-along is that the leader was in kind of new age, and so she had little songbooks for us, but she changed the lyrics. And one of my favorite carols is God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, and she changed the lyrics from the first year we went from to save us all from Satan's power, which I always love. For some reason that line really throws me. She changed to save us all from homelessness. And I think that she figured out, that was not fine. So the next year it was hopelessness. But it was like, Satan's power. I mean, that's something to reckon with. So I wanted to write a poem about that. It was in my mind for years. And then I had this. A couple of things came together. Every Christmas I get together and bake cookies with my nephew, who's now a big, tall, handsome 21-year-old, but he was 8 years old when I came up with this poem. And so that's in this poem. It's and also too, it's a real love poem to Steve McQueen, who I absolutely adore. So that's it. Okay. Ode on Satan's power. At a local bistro's Christmas sing-along, the New Age pianist leads us in a pan-cultural tour of seasonal songs. The Ramadan chant being my personal favorite, but the Kwanzaa lullaby and the Hanukkah round are very interesting. Let's face it, most of us are there for the carols we set to memory in childhood, though some lyrics have been changed. So when we sing God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, we're transformed into a room full of slightly tipsy, middle-class, gentle people who are longing to be saved from hopelessness instead of Satan's power when we're gone astray. But I, for one, sing out Satan's power, as do most of the gentle people, women and men. Something I find myself pondering a few days later while my profoundly worried nephew, Henry, and I embark on our annual blitzkrieg of baking, punctuated by Henry's high-speed philosophical questioning, such as, where do we go when we die? Pressing my collection of cookie cutters, trees, snowflake Santas, and fragrant ginger dough, I want to say, who cares? Carpe diem, Buster. Though, of course, I'm way too scarred by pop psychology to under half the nutty things that pop up like weeds in the 18th century garden of my brain. 8-year-olds need their questions answered, I suppose, but not by me. Let's watch some TV, I say. An instrument of Satan, if ever there was one. Bullets on. Steve McQueen in his prime. I love this movie. Equal waves of sorrow and carnage washed up on a hokey late 60s beach of masculine cool. McQueen is Bullet, and Jacqueline Bissette's his girl. Henry and I start watching during the scene where she's driving Bullet around because if I remember correctly, he's taking not just one but several cars in at least as many now famous chases. Jackie drops Bullet at a hotel where he finds a girl newly dead, throat circled with purple fingerprints like grape jam stains. What happened to her? Henry asks, frowning, and I think, oh shit, this is not an officially approved nephew and Christmas activity. If I don't make a big deal of it, maybe he won't tell his mother. Someone strangled her, I say. What's strangled? He asks. And I see my sister has chosen not to threaten her child as our own dear really threatened us. Driven crazy, she browbeat us with strangulation, being slapped silly, public humiliation, murder, and eternal damnation. Perhaps because Henry's her only child, my sister can afford to be gentler with her son. Or maybe it's because 2 months before he was born, she almost lost him, ending up in the hospital, hooked to machines, ordered to bed for the final wrenching weeks. Maybe that's why the story of the Christ child speaks to us. All parents wonder how the world will treat their tender babes. Like Lorca, will he become a great poet and then end up in a mass grave? Only German philosophers think more about death than Henry Gwen. Why did he strangle her? He asked, his face as formidable as Hegel's. Satan's power, I want to scream, but mumble, it's just a movie, not real. Steve McQueen's dodging a plane. I remember reading he did his own stunts, which I tell Henry, but he's still in that hotel room. If she was alive, how'd you get her eyes to roll back in her head? I'm thinking of pornography, snuff movies, all the things I never wanted to see or even know about in this tawdry world. Honey, it's a major motion picture. Even in a small part, an actress has to be great. He nods and takes a bite off Santa's head. She was a pretty good actress. Get your booty, and I realize out of the blue Santa is an anagram for Satan. No way am I going to explain anagrams or Satan. Oh, how wonderful to have such a nemesis, a fallen archangel, one of high heaven's brightest stars in a battle with Jehovah for our souls, rather than the calendar's increasing speed, like a roller coaster run amok through a fun park of lost dreams, lost landscapes, and children growing up faster than we thought possible in the last terrible days before their birth. This poem was on the, I can't even remember why, it was on the internet. And I got a really cute note from a guy who said, you know, I know who Lorca and Hegel are. I looked them up, but who is this Henry Gwen? And I said, well, he's only 8, and he doesn't have much of a web presence yet. One of the things that I write about a lot, because it's something that bedevils me, is how to be not only a human being, but how to be a woman. There's so many selves fighting for supremacy inside all of us, and something that's happened. I don't really like to brag about myself, but for the longest time, I was a world-class sleeper. I mean, I could sleep for like 10, 12 hours, no problem. But lately, this has, left me, and it's really sad. Most nights I wake up from about, anywhere from 3 to 5, and I don't know about you, but at 3 in the morning, I don't have an integrated personality. And this is something that I think it's because I slept so well for so long, but you wake up and you're just filled with anxiety. And finally, I realized what it was is that you haven't had your REM sleep yet. And so if you just, now what I do is when I wake up and just think, oh my God, what am I going to do? This is so horrible. I just say, hey, listen, you're going to go back to sleep and you're going to wake up and it's going to be okay. And it seems to work. Everybody probably knows that but me. So at this late date, kind of figured that one out. But this is kind of a poem about all of the different selves living inside of one human being. And there are a lot of different elements at work in it. I have this huge collection of 45s, because one of the things I love to do when I feel kind of sad is just to dance. And it's just, I have a little turntable, and I put the 45s on, and you just dance and you feel immediately better. And this, not only do I love Stevie Queen, but I love Prince more. Oh, I just love Prince. I can't. Oh, I just love Prince. And so I don't know which I like more, Little Red Corvette or Kiss, but I think maybe Kiss. Anyway, it's just to dance to that song is just to send me into a place that is too beautiful for this world almost. And let's see what else. I need to. My husband's name is David, but he's called Dave by a lot of people. So this is my ode to my 45's insomnia and my post-structuralist superego. What would life would be a day and night dance party with ginger ale, gin and tonics, or Bacardi and Coke? Who cares as long as the music keeps coming, like a railroad train without brakes. The engine storming down the tracks, the conductor's hair flying in the night air like a tornado now, because I might just take off. Little Richard is screaming Tutti Frutti on my little portable record player, duty fleeting like a I can never say this right, a wapapalooba, bomb on speed. And though my drug days are behind me, tonight I need a fix of funk because lights low, Little Red Corvette will cure any ailment, even the knockdown Tourette's that attacks at 3 a.m. Super ego Babette, snappy little twat with a French accent, legs you bet, and fishnet hose and skirt up the ear snarling, slut. Though for emphasis she adds, putain, salute. I stutter. I haven't slept with anybody but Dave for 25 years. That's what you think, you bourgeois slave. And God knows I can let a detail slip, but you'd think I'd remember that. So it's to me while I sink into a slow of despond so deep I can hear Chinese beneath my feet. But hold on, what's that? It's Please Mr. Postman. And the modelette swing down and grab me up because my rock and roll is Barbie and Babs. And push back the rug or doing the twist, drinking tabs. Forget that French bitch and her zombie horde. You can stab us in the back and call us Keith Richards, the girls say. And then scream the lyrics of I Put a Spell on You because they've read Heidegger and Simone de Beauvoir too. But it's not going to stop them from swinging tonight, dancing in the streets and drinking Mai Tais with little purple umbrellas. For they live in the land of 1,000 dances where Wilson Pickett reigns supreme, while I freelance at the Funk Bazaar because some nights Prince's kiss is all that stands between me and the darkening abyss. And my girls are swinging their ponytails with Nadine, Layla, Gloria, because we heard through the grapevine that not much longer will we be here. So let's go, girls, down to the basement and sing hello to the devil because his dress is red and trouble is on his mind. He's out searching for girls, and what does he find when he gets to the party? Revved up, ready to scare our pants off? Our pants are off. We're not fighting fair, and who is the devil anyway? It's some ugly guy with a goatee and fire coming out from his ears. We say to hell with you and your minions too, because there's music in the air, and the night is shorter than your prick, Satan. So move along, because we have some dancing to do in the streets, under the sheets. I'm not mincing words here, because I've got 3 girls in one body. Wait, that smells like religion. Oh, which I can I just sent my new book off to the publisher, and so I thought I'd read these poems and all my lingo things were all very formal. And after I finished that book, I wanted to go back to free verse because I didn't want to, I don't know why, sometimes I think of the reasons for what I want, I do, and then I realize that I don't really. But it took me a long time to get back to free verse. I really found that I was I don't know, not dependent, but I just loved the kind of the collisions of language that formal verse made for me. But anyway, I went back to free verse, and this is a poem, and about a job I had when I was a young woman. And I think that one of the things that we all look back on when we get a little older are those dead-end jobs that you think, oh my God, how did I do that? How did I go to that job for as long as I did? And I was famous for one job, just going home one day and never going back. And they kept calling me up and saying, where do you want your checks? I'm like, I don't want the check, I don't want anything, just leave me alone. My teacher is just so horrible. This is, I worked for the Florida State Legislature as a proofreader for a couple of sessions, and this is about that. It's called Ode to the Triple. Valium, Librium, and Tylenol with codeine. That's what Velma, the head nurse at the Florida House of Representatives, would dish out when you came in with your period, a hangover, a cold, a broken arm, a hangnail. She called it the triple. As in, sounds like you need a triple? That calls for a triple. God, the triple is beautiful. You could do your job, but instead of sitting in your squalid Bartleby desk and turning into a cockroach while proofreading legislative bills commending beauty queens and putting potheads in prison, you'd be floating on a cloud so silvery that the words were a kind of neo-beatnik Dadaist poetry. And our goddess was Velma, a chunky bleached blonde who knew what was going on, so you couldn't show up every day or even every week unless you were a big shot representative from Palatka, say, or Steinhatchee or Miami Lakes in sherbet-colored polyester leisure suits. Oh, they could go in any time they wanted and get a quadruple triple. Or so we in the proofreading people fantasized, because we needed a triple to get from 8 o'clock to lunch. When we were released from our cubicles for 60 minutes, which seemed like 60 seconds, and Cindy used to say she wanted them to pay her every hour just to pop the bills and change down on her desk, so when she got fed up, she could walk away with her cash and never come back. And we couldn't imagine someone staying at a job so long they could retire. But Velma retired. And the party was like an inauguration because anyone was there, and plenty of nobodies too. Stiff flower arrangements and a bowl of orange juice and ginger ale punch. And then she was gone, like a dream. And the new nurse was doling out plain Tylenol, which changed nothing. In fact, it made it worse because when your head or uterus calmed down, you go back to the trenches and wait to be blown apart by a German howitzer or chewed by rats. So those of us who were able to escape might be forgiven for asking how it happened that one day the door to that particular realm of hell opened and then closed behind us, much the way Burt Lancaster's hands gripped Tony Curtis's in the trapeze when he did the triple somersault in the air, or Babe Ruth as he clinched the bat and hit a home run with the bases loaded. But sometimes I find myself saying, Velma, I need a triple. And she comes down like a Caravaggio angel and pops them in my mouth. And for a couple of hours, I feel as though I could do anything if only I knew what I could possibly be. Thank you. I found out that I was talking to somebody about that I used to work with about this poem, and I mentioned Velma, and she said, oh, she died a few years after she retired, which was really sad because she lives for me and has been living for me all that time. Let's see. I think that I'll end with this poem, All Night Lingo Tango. We were talking about spoken word poetry earlier, and one of the things that was, I love being a teacher because it opens me up to things that I wouldn't normally be open up to. And I was teaching an introduction to poetry class, and all the kids were just raving about spoken word poetry, and so I thought, oh, they're going to look into this. And boy, when I did, I just fell in love. It was so wonderful. And it was a revelation to me, and this is a poem that really grew out of that. And when I first wrote it, I thought this was a poem, kind of a persona poem of somebody talking to a lover. But then, this is the fantastic thing about poetry. Sometimes it's really good not to know exactly what you're writing about. You can figure it out a couple of years later, which is what happened to me with this poem, because it's not really a love poem so much as a poem in which one side of myself is talking to another side of myself. And you might think that happens quite a bit, and it does. It's like I wake up in the morning and I have to talk myself through all of the personal hygiene things. Just say, okay, now it's not that hard. Brush your teeth. You're going to be okay. But this is, I think, when I figured this out, I was doing a reading and I thought, oh my God, this is kind of the wild part of myself talking to the good girl part of myself. And I think we all know that those different cells in the stem. And this is also too a poem in which it's from my all formal book, and I really got I fell in love with monorhymes in this book, and Joseph Brodsky, I don't know if anybody loves his work like I do, but he has this fantastic sonnet series called 20 Sonnets for Mary Queen of Scots, and in it he does, and this is a Russian guy, and his English rhymes are just absolutely beautiful, and he has so much fun with them, and so this one, the end rhyme is the K sound, and then I have another rhyme going on inside of it, and oh God, so many other things that would be too boring to go into, but it's called Mambo Cadillac. Drive me to the edge in your Mambo Cadillac, turn left at the graveyard and gas that baby, the black night ringing with its holy roller scream. I'll clock you on the highway at 3 a.m., brother. Amen. Smack the road as hard as we can, because I'm going to crack the world in two, make a hoodoo soup with chicken necks, a gumbo with plutonium brew, a little snack before the dirt and jalapeno stew that will shut the skin right off your slinky hips, mister. I'm not stuck in a middle-class prison with someone I hate, sack of blues. Put on your high-wire shoes, Mr. Right, and stick with me. I'm going nowhere fast. The burlesque queen of this dim scene, I want to feel the wind, the block in my mouth going south down by the riverside, shock of the view. Take me to Shingles Fried Chicken Shack in your Mambo Cadillac. I was gone, but I'm back. For good this time. I've taken a shine to daylight. Crank up that radio, baby. Put on some dance music and shake your moneymaker. Rev it up to Mach 2. I'm talking to you, Mr. Magoo. Sit up, check out that blonde with the leopard print tattoo. Oh, she'll lick the sugar right off your donut and bill you to speak French while she do-the-do. So pick me up tonight in your Mambo Cadillac, because we've got a date with the devil. So fill the tank with high-octane rhythm and blues, sugarcane and sharp bait too. We got miles to cover, me and you. Think Chile, Argentina, Peru. So take some time off work, because we're going to be gone a lot longer than a week or two. Is this D-Day or Waterloo? White or black, it's up to you. We'll be in Mexico tonight. Pack a razor, pack some glue. Things fall apart off the track, and that's who we'll be, baby, in our Mambo Cadillac. 'Cause you're looking for love, but I'm looking for a wreck. Anybody have questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about whether or not, you said you had an intro to poetry, an intro to poetry course. Would you ever teach a course on the spoken word? And do you think that there's a distinct difference between teaching a creative writing course on spoken word and just a standard creative writing course?
I don't know, it sounds like you have some ideas on that subject.
I was asking you.
I think it's part of poetry. I mean, you know, the House of Poetry is huge.
Yes, it is.
And I like to include everything. I like, you know, even formalism. I like, and I love spoken word. And I think that I always tell my students that it's so important to honor your voice. And everybody's voice is different. You know, we have different backgrounds. We have, you know, different life experiences, and some people, speak with a muted voice, and some people like to, speak out loud. And so, I think that it's really important for those introductory classes to, at least I feel like this, to expose students to everything in contemporary poetry and let them make learning choices. And they might not be my choice, but I have to say the spoken word class I taught was just, I loved it. And that Mambo Cadillac poem, I've heard that, I gave a reading at Florida State, and a couple of students, my friend won a spoken word competition with that poem, and I was really thrilled. It was something for me. And just that using of rhymes really played into the formal experiments I was doing in this book. So, but I think it has a place in the, I made a place for it in mine. I don't know, a lot of people teach in schools where they have a kind of a regimented curriculum, but we can pretty much do whatever we want. So I start in my introduction to poetry class, I always start with just contemporary poetry, because so many of my students come in from I kind of worked into the formal thing. I really got interested. I couldn't do metrics, but I counted syllables, which is really, I'm a real counter. I like to count everything. And my husband says I'm a borderline Asperger's, but then lots of times he says there's no borderline about it. But I really, I like that counting, and so like Mambo Cat, like I think it has, every line has 12 or 13 syllables. I can't remember which one. So and all of the poems in that book too. So I had a lot of fun, but I was really, it scared myself too. I thought that I was going to, I could see myself going off the deep end. And so that's when I went back to first, and I'm very happy to be there. Thank you for your, oh, okay.
I'm so sorry. FSU has such a great theater school.
Yes, they do.
There, do you find some crossover? I mean, could you be part of the drama curriculum as well?
You know what, we don't, and it's like one of the frustrations of our, of the people in creative writing. We can never make that happen, and it is really frustrating. Florida State was the women's college for so long, and then the University of Florida was the men's college, and so we have a really strong arts program at Florida State as a result. We have a beautiful, wonderful music school, and theater, dance, and then English. So, but we have never been able to make that, and we don't even have a playwright teaching in a creative writing program, which is, it has something to do with all of those bureaucratic things that I never can figure out. Yeah, it's too bad though. Every once in a while we have a playwright in residence, which is wonderful. Not right now.
Any good formula for balancing teaching and writing?
You have to put it first, and that doesn't mean you can't be a good teacher. I think I'm really serious about my teaching, but I think that it's so important to put your writing first, and then I think your teaching is good too. It's better as a result. And this is a fight I've had with friends of mine who put their teaching first and then let their writing lives go by the wayside, and it's a decision you make. And but I think that by putting your writing first, then you become a better teacher, because your students are coming to you to find out how to, all the tricks and how to make life in writing. And so I think by putting your writing first, then you can help them better to do that as well. And then you figure out things that work for you, and can tell your students what's worked for you in the past. So I would say that. Another trick, and this is funny, I was at a cocktail party, and a young woman came to me and she said, how did you write your first book? You were working full time, and not teaching either. I was doing technical writing. And I said, well, one thing that I did was I come home from work every night, and then I'd have dinner, and I'd go back up and work for a couple of hours. And I said, it didn't take me too long to figure out that you can't drink at dinner. I'm not very smart sometimes that way, but it's really, so you just have to put your glass down, and also to turn off the telephone, and sometimes you have to make sacrifices where, I know I would go out to lunch every Saturday with two girlfriends, and we just talk about the same things over and over again, and I thought to myself, I could really be using this time to write, and so I just told them I couldn't go out to lunch with them anymore. And one of them was brave. She was fantastic. She said, "Fine, we can, whenever you want to go, just call me." The other one was kind of mad at me, but it's funny. Years later, she said, "I see what you were doing." So you just have to. I think you have to make writing the most important thing you do. And I think that you could, you can go out to lunch, but not all the time. Go out to dinner, and not talk on the phone. I love to talk on the phone. That's the reason why I don't have a smartphone, because I'd be on it all the time, and I just turn it off. And I don't have a window in my office either, because I have a concentration span of a tennis ball. I mean, it's so easy to distract. So those are all all of those kinds of things. You figure it out for yourself. I mean, some people have better concentration than others. I just don't. And I have a little garret over the garage, so to be able to, my husband's a really luscious distraction, so I have to go down the stairs and go into the house and then go to his office, you know, to bother him. So I don't do it as much because it's, I have a room of your own. That's so important, I think. That help?
Yes, thank you.
Walker Percy says that teaching and writing come from the same place in the soul, and it's impossible to do them both at the same time and do them equally well.
Well, I think that what my experience has been a little bit, not so much like that. I think writing is a really lonely business. I find it to be, you're there by yourself. You know, you're talking to your, different parts of yourself. You're talking to your characters if you write fiction, and sometimes I think that for me, teaching is just a way to have friends. You know, it's just you go to your classroom, and those people are, they're there for the thing that you do best, which is not really what some friendships are like, and certainly not family relationships. You know, that's like shark-infested. So, I mean, I grew up in a huge family. You know, and it's one of those things. I keep thinking that sometimes I have a friend who's so naive and trusting, and I couldn't figure it out because he's old enough to know better. And I realized finally he's an only child. You know, he didn't grow up with people who loved him most in the world. You know, just stabbing him in the back and chance of dying. So, boy, I went off on a tangent here. But anyway, that's what I see. That's how I see teaching. It's really, it's kind of a friendly thing. You know, they're always, and people and smart. Students are smart. I don't know. I really like it for that. But I don't know. Maybe I don't do it well. But boy, Walker Percy certainly, he did the writing thing well, didn't he?
I was impressed.
Well, the moviegoer. I go back to that one. That we're both over again.
One thing I think we spend our spare time on doing what we really like to do. And I find, sometimes I really like to write something on the novel, but the time that I do, I will make time to write. If I get something on my mind I want to write, I will make time to write, and I will find ways, if I'm teaching, to incorporate that and write and give kids an example. Well, I'm not teaching all the time now, but when I was teaching, I would find if I was trying to teach them something, I would find myself sometimes thinking, oh, I want to do this assignment and show them an example of this so that they'll know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So I think part of it is a love of writing, and so we find time to do what we really love to do.
But sometimes that love is hard. You have to cultivate it too. I know that I think that a big part of your question, like something I forgot, is just developing that sixth flash. Just sitting at your desk. Because I love, and I tell my students this all the time. Because something Picasso said. He says, inspiration exists, but it must find us working. And if you're on the golf course and you get a good little piece of inspiration, you're not at your desk. And so I spend a lot of time at my desk, and sometimes it's like I'm just fooling around, and I have lots of different projects, and I fool around since 2 or 3 at the same time. One of them takes off, and it surprises me. But I think that just sitting there at your desk, and it makes your butt big too. There's nothing you can do about that. But just sitting down and being there when because inspiration doesn't come all the time, but you have to be working all the time. And I've also seen friends of mine who are really talented in graduate school who just never developed that you call it discipline, but I don't see it so much that. I think sometimes some people have a disposition that just allows them to be able to sit. I did a lot of Buddhist meditation when I was a younger person, and man, I could just sit there forever. So I don't know, it's kind of a hard thing, but just sitting at your desk. Thanks very much.